Welcome to the launch of the spring issue of Revolve magazine. This is the 47th issue of our quarterly publication, and it's the first day of spring. So happy spring equinox. This is the 21st of March, and we are happy to be joined today by 4 EU-funded projects related to advancing more sustainable food systems. We did a group exercise of competing for the cover, and each project submitted their best image evoking livestock husbandry, and our respective viewers voted. You can see the 4 projects here are meat quality, intact, pathways, and code refarm. So the idea was that each one of our respective sister projects would submit an image and then turn around and share it with their respective groups. And so the winner of this year's competition is meat quality with over 140 votes, then intact, then pathways, and code refarm. We will do the competition next year, and here you can see the cover of this year's spring issue that we're happy to highlight. This is a photo from the Sierra de Huelva in southern Spain, not too far from Sevilla and Huelva. So to give a little context to this issue and to the theme of livestock husbandry, just give a little fact here to give the framework. According to the FAO, the livestock sector emits 15% of global greenhouse gases, and improving livestock husbandry could reduce these emissions by 20 to 30%. This is part of Europe's farm to fork strategy, which is a key component of the EU Green Deal. And this is what we are featuring in as the lead article in our magazine that we worked on with our 4 sister projects. So thank you very much to them. Today, I'm joined by Lawrence Smith, who's coordinator of Pathways, joined by Mariana Couto, who's the international project officer from Ecovalia for the meat quality project, joined by the coordinator of Intact, Bruno Martin, from INREA, and Maria Anastasi, research and development project officer from the Cyprus Research and Innovation Center for the Code Refarm project. So welcome to you guys. Thank you for joining us today on the first day of spring, as I mentioned. Lawrence, I would like to start with you, if I may. Give us some background, please, on this age-old practice of livestock husbandry, and tell us a bit about the Pathways project, please.
Great. Thanks very much, and good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here, and thanks very much for the invitation to talk to you about Pathways today. So, a bit of background to the project really is that there's a recognition that not just in Europe, but globally, we're going to see a growing demand for livestock products over the next decades, in particular through increasing populations and increasing economic prosperity at a global scale. But at the same time, we have this pressing issue of environmental impacts from livestock farming, and particularly around climate change and also animal welfare issues associated with intensive production systems in particular. And a recognition that in some parts of the world, there's a high level of overconsumption of meat that's reached unsustainable levels. But within Pathways, we're trying to take a sort of nuanced perspective on the future of livestock, and not to throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of recommendations for reduced levels of consumption, by taking a holistic perspective in terms of the sustainability evaluation of current and future livestock systems. And within that holistic perspective in Pathways, we're including a number of important categories. So, of course, looking at the greenhouse gas impacts of current and future livestock but also factoring in nutritional needs and bringing in important categories that are sometimes overlooked in sort of blanket recommendations around sort of reduced levels of production and consumption. So, for example, looking at the needs of pregnant women, children, and the elderly with regards to human nutrition. And also looking at the role that livestock play in promoting the vitality of rural territories. So in particular, we're looking at the social aspects of livestock systems across Europe and the potential for livestock to contribute to closing nutrient cycles at a sort of farm level, but also at a regional level within a sort of circular economy. The sort of philosophy for the project, if you like, is holistic sustainability assessment. So what we're trying to do within Pathways is sort of overcome the single issue focus that we often see within sort of livestock science, and look at sort of a much broader perspective encompassing the nutrition, social and environmental and economic domains. And this, we think, can lead to some more effective policies in Europe. The main aim for the project really is to inform policy through this more holistic perspective and sort of more wide-ranging view of the future of livestock systems.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Very ambitious project, Pathways, with some decision-making tools coming up in the next years, if I've understood correctly. And in practical terms, moving towards Mariana from meat quality, can you explain a little bit what you guys are doing and the differentiation for our viewers between intensive versus extensive farming?
Yes, hi, thanks for this opportunity. The meat quality project is very ambitious because we work this from farm to fork, but I will focus a little bit more on the difference of intensive and extensive because all the time we have a lot of confusion on that. And generalizing, this can lead to forgetting many systems adopted to the territory that could be, we can think about a scale of grace. So the intensification of the production could be to generate adequate levels of incomes to increase the profitability. Farms have decoupled their farms for the environment by substituting genetic selected breeds with high yields, intensifying the production, increasing the technology, increasing the herd size, and the feed and roarage from outside of the farm, and animals are housing permanently. And this can be the normal example of the pig and chicken production. This is among of the most intensive species in Europe. We have in Europe. And this is the species what we're working at the meat quality. And for other example could be for us like the pigs win at the cover magazine. This is a typical pig of the sur of Spain and Portugal. And these are an agroforestry system characterized by the walks and with understory grazing all the time. And these are with a combination of cattle, sheep, goats, and pigs, but not all the extensive production are in the combination. So what I talked about before, it's the gray of scales. We cannot generalize what it's one thing or other thing. So the extensive livestock of production usually is related to use the territory natural resource with a low use of external inputs, feed from outside or the farm, not feed from outside of the farm, and mainly through grazing. Generally, this is characterizing using species and breeds of livestock adapted to the territory, native breeds with different pastures according to the temporality of the each availability. Not all year we have the same grass, and respect the environmental. So to concentrate for the meat quality, we don't want to compare, but we want to know how long the intensification could be connected with the meat quality. So we will link the animal species, so different species, different behavior and different management and feeding. So we are looking for the pigs and the broilers, and the breeds. We are to see how the selected breeds and native breeds and the crossbreeding, to see the number of animals per available space. This is a key for to differentiate of the intensive or extensive production. And the presence or not of stimulus to encourage the animals to manifest its natural animal behavior, which we call environmental enrichment. This is very important. And other, we talk about of the resources, the feed. So you use the origin of the feed and using byproducts from the food industry, and to seeking the circular economy and to close all the cycles. No, just to finally, if the purely management, all production systems, so the animal or vegetables, trees or forests, have negative impacts, which can be financial, social, and environmental. So it's very important to know as well this grayscale, to not forget these very connections with the cultural and traditional diversity we have in Europe. This can be a tool for to go through the path for to the change of this livestock, and to be more connected, and to have more diversity and environmental. So I think it's very interesting how our four projects are working in parallel to contribute a little bit more with knowledge for the importance of the livestock farming.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mariana. So this spectrum from intensive to extensive, and the quest, let's say, of providing greater animal welfare for better meat quality as well is sort of a recurrent theme here, and it leads into what our colleagues from Intact are working on, I believe. Monsieur Bruno Martin, if you would like to welcome to this morning, and if you would like to say a few words, please, about your project, of course, but also about this one quality concept that you guys are advancing, please.
Okay, thank you for the invitation, and good morning, everybody. So I am the coordinator of the Intact project, and in fact, in this project, we developed a specific concept that we called One Quality. This is quite new. In fact, it refers to the concept of One Health, which consider that human, animal, and environmental health are interdependent and are really linked. So the one quality refers to this concept, and in fact, the one quality concept, it encompasses what we call, in fact, the intrinsic quality of a product. So we are used in general to assess this quality. We are talking about safety. We are talking about the nutritional quality, we are talking about the taste, the sensory quality, and also other aspects. But the quality of a product, in fact, is not only this intrinsic quality. It's also the quality of the production process, production methods in general, and basically it's the sustainability of the production, on the environmental side, on the social, and with all the economic aspects that Lawrence has been developing previously. So in the Intact project, we want to address this one quality of products coming from a large diversity of farming systems that coexist at the European scale, and like in meat quality, we want to address this one quality of the products coming from very extensive to very intensive farming systems that coexist at the European scale. So basically, in the Intact project, we are focusing on beef and poultry meat that are very different farm types, farming systems, and also about the milk quality. So our aims are first to model the links between the diversity of the farms that coexist at the European scale and the quality, the one quality of products, so the taste, the safety, the nutritional quality, and the sustainability of the production methods. So this is the first aim, and we want to provide some objective references on all these aspects, and we want to address all these aspects at the same time. And this is very important for us because we have already many references related to the influence of type of farming system on one aspect of the quality, but here we want to address this one quality and this very large global quality. So this is the first aim of the project. We want as well to produce tools for the assessment of this one quality, because we want to provide some rapid analytical tools for the assessment of the intrinsic quality and sustainability, why not, of the production. And also we want to develop some multi-criteria scoring tools referring to this global and to this one quality, in fact. And finally, the last aim of the project is to propose sustainable practices that are adapted to the diversity of the situation that we can find at the European scales, and to propose and to test practices with farmers that are involved. So we will be working with a group of farmers, living labs with a living lab approach, and to test practices that enable to enhance both the intrinsic quality of the products and the sustainability of the production. And maybe the last point for the Intact project is that it's a project with a multi-actor approach. So we involved stakeholders in the process of choosing the farming systems, choosing the priority quality traits for the analysis. And we have a large stakeholders network, and we are sure it will be very important for the adoption of the solutions that we want to propose in this project.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. So you're actually doing testing with farmers in living labs, which is an important angle of getting some real experience, let's say, as well. And on the other side of that, you have the consumers, you have the entire supply and demands there, and the whole sustainable production consumption angle of things, which is equally important. And I believe we have from the Code Refarm project, you guys are working on an exciting app that we may see later this year related to the sustainability criteria, let's say, that consumers may or are increasingly asking for. Maria.
Yes. Hi, Stuart. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having us. Yes, exactly. Code Reform is a project that was designed to, it stands for Consumer-Driven Demands to Reframe Farming Systems. We are looking into different farming systems, intensive and extensive. That was explained by Mariana. Our main targets are poultry, meat, eggs, and the dairy goat sector. And we are considering what the consumers want to see in a product, the information they require to make informed decisions about what to buy and what to consume. And we have looked as well as adding on what Bruno said about the stakeholders. we have consulted with our stakeholders to decide on what they want to look into, and we have created a consumer application, a mobile application that will provide all the information that consumers demand. We have found out so far that consumers want to know more about the farms, more about how the animals grow, more about the farmers, how the product becomes a product from the farm to the processor to them. So we're capturing all the journey of the value chain from farm to fork, and we're presenting that in the application. Also within Code Reform, we are assessing, we have novel tools that we are developing within the project, some for the quality assessments along the value chain, and some directed to the farms to measure and assess behavior of the animals, welfare, and stress levels. So that data will be going into a platform, and that data will also be available as part of the project, and the consumer will have access to some of that. That will be useful to help them with their decisions.
Great. And when are we going to see this app? When is it going to come to light? Is it later this year?
The app will be delivered with the end of the project, but we already have a prototyped version, and we are working on that. Hopefully we'll have that sometime in the beginning of 2024.
Okay, excellent. Well, I look forward to trying it out.
We will let you all know about it and get your comments on it.
Okay. And you mentioned telling the story of farmers, which is so important to actually show and tell what's happening on the ground, and this the work that you guys are doing is not coming out of a vacuum. And I wanted to loop back to you, Lawrence, just briefly. Like the story of livestock husbandry is nothing new. This is an age-old practice, but what we're doing now is trying to make it more and more sustainable, right? So could you comment a bit, or if others want to jump in too on the history of this? This goes way back.
Yeah, thanks, Stuart. It's a really key point for Pathways, because one of the things we're focusing on within Pathways is 16 case studies which are of innovative farmers, and we're trying to present the innovations that these farmers in these 16 cases are pursuing within different socio-ecological contexts. So what that means essentially is that we're trying to look at the sort of cultural and the social aspects of those systems, as well as their environmental and economic elements, and not to zoom in on one aspect of those systems that can often be the focus within the field of animal science. So essentially, what we're trying to do is sort of view the sort of cultural aspect of agriculture, so to speak, with these livestock farms, and to highlight the importance of that within this holistic approach, because we feel within the sort of field of animal science, more generally, as I said, we tend to sort of zoom in on one aspect, like greenhouse gas emissions, for example, and biodiversity. Given the crisis in both areas, has been given a lot of focus in recent years, but we risks of overlooking some of these important social elements, for example, within sort of rural communities. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think we can often forget that within the sort of scientific world, so to speak, partly because of the way that sort of research is set up and the way that sort of the whole sort of field of academia is set up. We tend to be quite reductionist in our approaches. So I think within Pathways in particular, we're trying to overcome that through expanding these approaches to sustainability assessment to be much more encompassing these broader elements to capture the sort of cultural aspects of livestock, and also bringing in the human nutrition angle, as I said earlier, with particularly with regard to established methods like life cycle assessment.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned the rural dimension of farming, of course, which is not in cities, obviously, but that rural development is so important for the interaction with cities. And it made me think, Mariana, of the winning cover of our magazine, which is from the Sierra de Huelva, which is in a more rural area, let's say, these so-called dehesas or montados, right? Could you give us some insights into that world, please?
This kind of landscape is typical of the south of the Mediterranean, and historically, this production is combining with other livestock and as well the forest management, and sometimes with pastures or crops, cereal crops. Usually. But with the intensification, mostly what happens is to separate the combining species for only to dedicate one species, or depends the rotation of pastures. It could be depends of what you have to offer, depends of the species. So you can control the planification of the grazing. And the other part, it's like a cultural and traditional. So this develops a lot of a diversity of gastronomy that in sometimes it was decreased the eating of this type of meats, particular of the pig, because have a high high percentage of grass, and the grass a few years ago is not very fashion to eat, but nowadays we have different consumers and different options. It becomes a little bit more interesting because the people wants to eat meat maybe the different way of the quantity, and get a little bit more presence this kind of production. So this is an example of a great opportunity for the organic production as well. So this is it's very interesting to know like the other side of the production with the social dimension, what pathways are looking for and other projects, because we can connect a little bit how the importance and the change of this livestock, the presence of this livestock can be a risk, because if we abandon this kind of landscapes and we do nothing, or poor management could make like a fire risk. So it's not only this have a very importance of these landscapes, and Europe are very diverse and this it's very beautiful.
Yes, I believe they're called marginal lands or marginal regions that are somewhat neglected, let's say, or that become underdeveloped. That's very interesting, Mariana, and congratulations again for winning the cover of our spring issue of Revolve magazine. I invite our viewers to visit these 4 respective EU-funded projects: Pathways, Meat Equality, Intact, and Code Refarm. Thank you to the representatives of each today for joining us on this short launch of our spring issue. We will continue our work together. Revolve is in the Pathways project, as you guys know, and we will be hosting more of these interactions as our projects go forward. So thank you very much for joining me, and have a very good day.